Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahabushai, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. And I'm going to start it off with an article from the irishstar.com titled, FBI begins preparing New York for World War III with large-scale military exercise. The Federal Bureau of Investigation said the exercise includes military aircraft and personnel who are set to carry out scenario threats to be ready to respond in the event of a nuclear incident in the United States or overseas. And according to biblical prophecy, there will be a third world war. This is Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe or destruction is past, referring to World War I, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. World War II, which is past, and World War III, which is quickly coming upon us. And like I've said in previous videos, as a lot of other brothers have been saying, for all intents and purposes, you can say we're already in the beginning of World War III, and it will culminate in nuclear missiles being shot all across the earth. And the two main combatants is going to be the United States of America and Russia. But the thing is that while Russia will be hit with nuclear missiles, it's not going to be completely destroyed. It will be re-inhabited after a while, a lot like other places across the planet that are going to get hit with nuclear missiles. But as for the United States of America, when it's hit with nuclear missiles, it's going to be wiped off the face of the earth and become a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland, which we'll get into later on in this lesson. But this article reads, New York is currently the stage for an enormous military drill in preparation for the potential outbreak of World War III. The world's nerves have been on edge since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and last month, Russian President Vladimir Putin served the West, and when they speak of the West, they speak of the U.S., a stark warning about the prospect of a third world war. According to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, this extensive exercise features military aircraft and personnel who will act out threat scenarios to ensure they're primed to respond in the event of a nuclear incident in the United States or overseas, with a recent map showing which states would be worst impacted by nuclear war. But hey, with how it's actually going to play out, you can chuck that map in the trash. The Bureau informed that from Sunday until January 31st, the public might spot drills in progress as responders train for a possible radiological attack, which aims to hone their skills in safeguarding civilians and implementing emergency measures. And hey, they're wasting their time, because when everything's said and done, there's not going to be, any civilians to administer aid to. But that's it with this article. And as we can see, just another example of World War III in the news, and the talks of nukes being used. And who are the two countries you always hear being talked about? The United States and Russia. But now I'm going to go to this clip from NDTV on YouTube, and it's titled, Iron Dome for U.S. Trump signs executive order for Israel like Iron Dome missile shield. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes. And This just goes to show how much, the powers that be, take heed to the words of the prophets, because for, decades at this point, the prophets, beginning with One West and, all the way down to GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers that come in the spirit of Great Millstone, have been out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this online, preaching of lamentations, mournings, and woe, speaking of World War III and the United States and Russia going at it and the U.S. being destroyed. And you've been seeing, these different countries say things that allude, to the prophets, and what have been taking measures to try to counteract biblical prophecy. As it says in Jeremiah 51, it's either 50 or 51, I think it's 50, the king of Babylon. And one of the names for the United States of America in the scriptures is Babylon the Great. And who would the king be? The president on one hand, and then on the other hand, the elites, like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers that truly run this country. But as it says, the king of Babylon hath heard their report. And I don't even want to paraphrase it. Let me Slocky. Here it is. Jeremiah 50 and 43. The king of Babylon, the president of America, hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. And I remember during Trump's first term in office, I believe it was around the time of the George Floyd protests, he put up a tweet saying, I bet the black Hebrew Israelites, which, we're not black, we're simply Hebrew Israelites, because you've got the Northern Kingdom, which is the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, and then you've got the Israelite foreigners who look like these heathen nations. But he said, I bet the Hebrew Israelites are happy to see us tearing ourselves apart. And as soon as a brother had put that in our chat, it had to have been about 10 seconds later, I went back to go look at it, and it was completely scrubbed from the internet, and I haven't seen it since. And then, before he was selected, Donald Trump went on to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was saying, that there are prophets of old that say that World War III will be in the Middle East. You know this, right? Now, you got, these people out here that try to go into biblical prophecy, but who have you been mainly hearing that message from? That World War III will end in the Middle East, and that nuclear destruction will take place from the Hebrew Israelites. Again, chiefly GMS or Great Millstone. So again, the king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. And with Trump talking about a Iron Dome-like system for the United States of America, hey, that's an example of the king of Babylon's hands waxing feeble. So again, fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
To immediately begin the construction of a state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will be able to protect Americans. We protect other countries, but we don't protect ourselves. And when Ronald Reagan wanted to do it many years ago, luckily we didn't. We didn't have the technology then. It was a concept, but we didn't. And now we have phenomenal technology. You see that with Israel. We're out of 319 rockets. They knocked down just about every one of them. So I think the United States is entitled to that. And everything will be made right here in the USA, 100%.
And with those limited strikes Iran recently did on Israel, that was just an appetizer for what they could really do. And, the Iron Dome missile defense system didn't hold up as well as, people in the West said it did. And when these nuclear missiles get to being fired, America's missile defense systems or their purported new Iron Dome won't do a goddamn thing to stop it. But let's get back to these precepts. This is Ezekiel chapter 38. I'm going to start at verse 2 and jump around a bit. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, which is the biblical name for Russia, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. So, this chapter is talking about Russia, those Russian Edomites coming against the land of Israel during World War III, the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon. And, I'll just read verse 5, going into some of Russia's allies: Persia, which is the ancient name for Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer, which is speaking of Turkey, which at some point is going to completely betray the West and NATO to ally with Russia, and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. But now I'm going to jump down to verse 10. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall also come to pass that at the same time things shall come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, such as going against the land of Israel and also going against the United States of America. And verse 11 is a twofold. It's on the first hand, it's talking about the land of Israel with those Amalekite Edomites posing as the children of the Most High in that land. And it can also be talking about the United States of America as well. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. That's going into the U.S. and Israel relying on their missile defense and anti-missile defense systems, such as the Iron Dome in Israel. And, I believe it's the Patriot system over in the United States of America, along with their other assets. For the longest time, those Israelis thought that the Iron Dome was unstoppable, but Iran proved otherwise, and that's a much smaller nation than Russia. So when Russia comes against, the land of Israel and the United States of America, hey, they're truly going to see that they are a land of unwalled villages, and they'll no longer be dwelling safely or feeling like they're at peace. To take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, and dwell in the midst of the land. But the main point was in verse 11, that evil thought to come against the land with unwalled villages. And Israel's Iron Dome and the Iron Dome that Donald Trump is talking about building won't be able to stop it. This is Joel chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And the prophets are blowing that spiritual trumpet in Zion, telling our people of the terrible times to come, as well as you heathens, especially you Edomites. But only, the elect of the nation of Israel are going to take heed to that word, while the wicked of our people are going to get judged like these heathens. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. Speaking of those nuclear weapons, there hath not been ever the like, because they came about recently during that second woe, World War II, with those atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. Because when all these nations go to shoot their nuclear missiles, every single one is going to be fired. And then after the dust settles, Yahushai and the 144,000 of the elect of the nation of Israel, who are fishers of men right now prophesying, are going to be hunters in that day with spiritual powers, rounding up the surviving heathens, beginning with the elites, to put you into slavery. A fire devoureth before them, that warhead at the front of the missile, and behind them a flame burneth, the rocket booster at the back. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. You've got cities and forests and people and animals, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Fallout, a wasteland. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. People getting burnt to a crisp by those nuclear missiles. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. And they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Because the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is going to be on those missiles, guiding them to their targets. And throughout the years, there have been sightings of so-called UFOs, which are really the chariots of the Most High, above Russian and U.S. nuclear weapons facilities. And they turned on the sequence, and before it went off, they turned the sequence off, showing just how in control the Most High is of everything. Verse 8, neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. And that sword is speaking of these anti-missile defense systems, which are going to fail in that day. And the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is going to be on them as well to fail. And then on top of that, the Most High has put the spirit on these Russian, scientists to create these hypersonic and other advanced weapons that can evade anything that the U.S. or Israel has. But now I'm going to go to Psalms chapter 58. I'm going to start at verse 3, and the header reads, prayer for the punishment of the wicked, and the wicked according to the scriptures. The border of wickedness in Malachi 1 verse 4, the wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of in Job 9 verse 24, are you Edomites, or so-called white people? The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. So you Edomites are wicked from the womb. Now I'm going to jump to verse 6. Break their teeth, O power, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Yahweh. And a lion's teeth is his main form of attack. So what's this talking about? The weaponry of the wicked, which, their ultimate weapon are these nuclear weapons. Verse 7, let them melt away as waters which run continually, when he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows. And in the scriptures, the nuclear weapons, among other things, are likened to arrows, and missiles look like arrows. And those bows are those silos and other launch platforms. But as it said, when he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Yahweh. And back in Joel chapter 2, when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. So when these nuclear missiles get to flying, on the one hand, the Spirit of the Lord is going to be guiding them to their targets. And then on the other hand, the Spirit of the Lord is going to be causing some nations a certain amount of their missiles not to fire, especially in the United States of America. When he goes to bendeth his bow, and also for their anti-missile defense systems, those swords to fail as well, so that those missiles that are intended to hit Babylon hit them without any problems. But like I said earlier in the video, You know, what this is ultimately going to end in is the United States of America being completely wiped off the face of the earth and becoming a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland. But this is Isaiah chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 17. And the header reads, Babylon will fall to the Medes. And while the Neo-Babylonian Empire, fell to the Medo-Persian Empire, this isn't talking about those ancient kingdoms. This is talking about the United States of America falling to Russia, who are also known as the Medes in this verse. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Which, we can see right now with the BRICS, Russia is not given any regard to the US dollar. They're finding ways, along with their allies, to circumvent it. And then ultimately, when it comes time for them to turn those keys and shoot those nukes, nothing will persuade them otherwise. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. So everyone in Babylon, outside of the 1/3 of the elect, are going to be destroyed. And Babylon, America, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, which was destroyed with fire and brimstone from the sky. And America is also known as spiritual Sodom, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. So this spiritual Sodom is going to get destroyed by modern fire and brimstone, 200 million nuclear missiles, and it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there. Hey, this is going to be a desert that's going to be too harsh even for those so-called Arabs or Ishmaelites. Neither shall the shepherds make their folds there. And when this place is turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, after the dust settles, man, woman, or child will never set foot on this place ever again. And after a time, only harsh desert creatures are going to dwell here. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And when we read about, World War III drills being conducted in New York, or Donald Trump talking about an Iron Dome-like missile defense system for America, we know that these days are very near, and Babylon's time is no longer being prolonged. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shabbat Shalom.